Hey everybody, uploading again today. Anyway, we got a prompt to go over. Alright, so use this week's discussion to consider the importance of following a standardized method of cleaning your firearms by answering the following prompt. Many firearm owners believe they know everything there is to know about cleaning their guns. Yet, there's a lack of maintenance in one big contributing factor to malfunction and failure. So, maintenance or bad maintenance or a lack of maintenance leads to a lot of malfunctions and failure to have the gun do gun things. Why do we think, aside from laziness, and cite examples from my stories? So, I'm pretty sure I've generally talked about it on the channel. Spent 4 years in the Marine Corps as an 1833 or amphibious assault vehicle crewman. During that time, I was a vehicle commander, a gunner, and also an instructor and evaluator on gunnery for those vehicles. All right, just to make sure that I'm not just sitting here running my suck about something I generally don't know. So anyway, let's go over the safety rules. Treat, never, keep, and one extra. So, treat every weapon as if it were loaded. Never point your weapon at anything you do not intend to shoot. Keep your fingers straight and off the trigger until you are ready to fire. Keep your weapon unsafe until you intend to fire. And one important one that for some reason is not there is know your target and what lies beyond and in between. Anyway, so, well there, obviously I've seen people that the only reason why they existed on their planet was to clean their gun. All they were doing was cleaning it when they weren't eating, sleeping, or pooping. Alright? And I know people that try to find every excuse in the book to not clean their guns. Alright? As 3Dog from Fallout 3 says, it doesn't matter if it's a police baton or a daygum Gatling laser. If you don't take care of the weapon, the only thing it's going to kill is you. Alright? We've all seen those silly videos that came up from the Middle East and everything where the guns are just exploding in people's faces. We found all those hillbilly boys that decide to put WD-40 on all their guns and make their guns essentially pipe bombs. That's my default statement for people that don't clean their guns, is you just turned your weapon into a pipe bomb. Well, that may stem from the factor of people just generally don't know. They were just running off of what their mama or daddy taught them growing up and what their grandpa taught them, because their grandpa was in the army and fought in Vietnam, and everything in between was just lackluster and gossip. And then you have the people that go way beyond to where they're assembling and disassembling their gun down to essentially just a pile of steel and putting it back together to be a fine boomstick. Well, there's a fine medium in between there, alright? Sometimes you gotta go over the wall, sometimes you just gotta go through the wall. Now, trying to think of a good story for you guys. There's a time where we were doing a training exercise and they gave me the M240. We were running golfs at the time, and the assaulting force was coming up onto our position, and I just ran into the nearest hole because I just got done taking a poop, and I was just like, yeah, I'm not going to stand around. So I hop in the hole where there was a 240, went up, I go to charge it, and well, I just ripped the charging handle off of it. That was because the armory decided to not properly rivet and pin the charging handle guides to allow that to rip. Then I want to say a few years later down the line, there was a Marine who was experiencing some difficulties on the rifle range. And that was a direct correlation to the fact that they cleaned their gun but weren't inspecting any parts for burrs, wear and tears, stuff being loose, or things not being the way that they're supposed to be. Well, that Marine went off to a different unit and their rifle was passed to a different Marine who within the first 5 minutes realized that their entire chamber and barrel was essentially wiggling with about an inch of play. The importance of it is when you are cleaning your weapon, you are ensuring that it is clear before you move or manipulate or do anything that is the first step of disassembly. When you disassemble your weapon, you are inspecting every possible part for wear, tear, or damages. I'm talking about slight little burrs, increased quantities of brass in certain areas, because that may lead to there being a sharp piece that is scraping on your casings, or overload or over amounts of crowding of carbon in areas where carbon doesn't naturally want to build up. That could be a leak, or wear and tear in a spot that could be a gap in head spacing, or bent parts. I've seen bent springs, bent charging handles, bent some rods. I've seen everything just being bent, worn, tore. Making sure that all the springs inside your weapon are still within proper tension. They don't go from having the ability to where you can't collapse them to being more loosey-goosey than something that I would just being more loosey-goosey than a hole in the dirt, right? I'm trying to watch my language here. And besides laziness, it could just be complacency, to where people are acknowledging the fact of they go out shooting and they come back and it's just a late day at the range or whatever, and they're just like, whatever, I'll clean the gun later, and it sits in the closet until hunting season, and they pull it out, think their weapon's fine, even though there's 6, 7, 8 months of carbon and grease that's just rotted up with dust, grime, and bugs. And next thing you know, here they are in the middle of the bush with this fine 30-point buck sitting out there at point blank range that 3 generations of their family have been trying to hunt. And he goes to shoot it. Next thing you know, the bullet doesn't go down range, but the bolt goes into their head, or the gun decides to go all Looney Tune on them and ends up looking like a mushroom or an umbrella, or it just simply just does not fire because that person did not decide to clean their weapon. I can completely understand if you just came back and it's your own personal gun and you really don't have any strong devotion to clean it that day. But make sure within that week you take your time and diligence to sit down and clean, wipe, inspect, and then re-lubricate and put your protecting solution onto your weapon. All right? Like, you never know what's going on. It's like you could have your one gun that could be like the family shotgun that you use for hunting, fishing, and home protection. And it's like you go to the range to make sure it's sighted in for hunting season. Next few days later, because you didn't decide to clean, someone comes breaking into your house. You run downstairs to try to protect your family, and the next thing you know, you just have pieces of a Remington 870 embedded into the drywall, and now you're out of television, a dog, and a kid. There's something that you strongly have to recognize. It's guns are tools. Guns can be recognized for fun, sports, and entertainment, but also they are dangerous things, and you have to take the maturity of yourself to be a grown human being. Grab your comeuppance and grow up to sit down and schedule a planning and cleaning of your weapon. If it's something that you shoot once a year and it just sits there, make it adamant to where January you shoot your guns for New Year's, and June you just pull them out to just dust, clean, lubricate, and inspect. There has to be a system to it. You have to make sure your weapons are clean and organized, because it's, at the end of the day, it's your face behind that, and I'm pretty sure we'd all like to keep our pretty little faces intact, so that way we can still smile and look at our family at the end of the day, instead of being in the hospital and looking like Two-Face from Batman. Hope you guys have a nice day. Remember safety rules. Remember, take a look down in that description. That information might not be for you, but it could be for someone you know. Stay safe, stay respectful, and hey, be nice to one another. Goodbye.
Welcome to Dan Doc's channel.